What I'm most upset by and what I think was the most offensive part of that game was letting Anthony freaking Richardson go 3 for 3 on 4th down in a gotta-have-it drive for that team's season at the end of that game. That was unbelievable to me. Anthony Richardson is... you remember like E.J. Manuel? Remember when the Bills drafted E.J. Manuel and they're like, he's not ready yet, but man, wait till he gets there. He's really going to blow everybody's mind once he puts it all together. And those first 2 years, which I don't even remember if he played past those first 2 years.
Probably not.
First 2 years, he looked like Anthony Richardson, just not as fast. Like he couldn't throw the ball. He was always looking around. He was on the run, making bad throws off his back foot, overthrowing guys, underthrowing guys, just completely missing guys, throwing picks. He was a mess. And Anthony Richardson is a mess too.
Yeah.
And you let him march down the field, pick up 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 4th down conversions. And just watching that and sort of thinking about the Patriots and their defense and how many times we've seen them get run off the field at the end of some of these games, it hasn't gotten any better. In fact, I would contend, and I know that Jonathan Taylor's a good running back, but it wasn't just him. It was Richardson making throws.
Yep.
It was sort of a combination of everything. And I feel like the Patriots didn't do a good job of stopping any element of that Colts offense. Now, you expect them to get run on, right? I expect them to get run on. I thought Taylor was going to go hog wild in that game, and he kind of did. He wasn't great, but he was good.
He got what he wanted.
He did. And Richardson did too when he ran. Yep. But Richardson throwing the ball in that last drive, I'm watching that going, what are they doing? How is this happening? How is this defense allowing this to happen? The only time they ever made a play was when Gonzalez ran up and hit somebody in the backfield or stopped the run there on the goal line or something or made that interception. Other than that, it seemed like no one could tackle, no one could cover, and no one was really aware of what to expect next from a very one-dimensional, not really all that high-functioning offense. And I'm watching that, and I'm thinking, man, at this point in the season, don't you think Jerod Mayo, a guy who was calling, well, he wasn't calling defensive play, but he was part of the defense and the defensive coaching staff all these years, don't you think he would have figured out the strengths and weaknesses of this group by now? Don't you think he would have had a game plan that highlights the strengths that this team has, if there are any? I'm not even sure if there are at this point. But on the defense, don't you think a guy like Mayo would recognize that? And don't you think over time, over 13 weeks, he'd have at least coached some of this out of them? It's getting worse. It's not getting better. And I know that there's some injuries, but you know what?
Less and less. Whoa.
Peppers
less
was
and
back.
less.
Yeah, Peppers
is
back
back, and
game.
Barmore's been back for almost a month now.
Exactly.
Those were excuses that I actually accepted for a while because I thought up the middle, you missed Peppers, Bentley, Barmore. Key figures, all 3 levels up the middle. Well, 2 of the 3 are back now.
Yep.
And I know it was Peppers' first game back, and he didn't look great, and maybe he'll be better in a week or 2, whatever. So you're also forgetting or leaving out part of the story of he hit 2 receivers in the hands down the seam that were flat-out drops.
Right.
Especially the A.D. Mitchell one. A disgusting drop, but also that other guy, Grayman, whatever the other guy was, hit him right in the hands, too, twice. 2 drops there. And I do actually think in historic Patriots parlance of defense,
Granson.
This is what they want. Because if you said, listen, you're going to be leading, and the only way that they can win is if Anthony Richardson leads a 19-play scoring drive with multiple 4th down conversions, I think they'd say, oh, well, we're going to win.
We got this.
No shot in hell he's capable of doing that.
Right.
And yet he did. And this defense continues to allow those gotta-have-it drives. I go back to that Seattle game where they marched it right down your throat. And
Jaguars game, too.
Jaguar. And Geno Smith is better than Anthony Richardson, but he's not exactly Tom Brady or Joe Montana or whoever, right, in their prime.
He might be Joe Montana compared to Anthony Richardson, but yes.
Yes, but, this is not the best of the best quarterbacks. No. And this defense continues to – it's part of why, for me, the most disappointing thing was Gonzo interception, which I think is one of their defensive plays of the year. He was like a fighter pilot. He had that diagnosed from the second the ball was snapped. Yes. It was like beep, 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 beep. Locked in, I'm taking this ball. It
Perfect
was awesome.
Undercut. He knew exactly when to accelerate, and he was right there when the ball got
And he barely got to sit his ass on the bench, and they were already punting the ball back to the other team. So it's great that you think you can play complementary football. Your defense doesn't complement anything. When you got to have a stop, they don't get it.
Nope.
So when you get the ball back at midfield after a great defensive stop, a great turnover by, as you said, one of your 2 tent poles, the defensive tent pole made a play, you should put it in the other tent pole's hands and say, let's put this game away. Let's score points here. We're up 7. If we go up 10 or 14, this game is over. We can't blow it. Doesn't matter what the defense does. And they go run, sack, punt. That, to me, was the worst of the loser mentalities we've had yet. I know it's cliche. I said this yesterday at Fitzy. How many times in football do you see a lot of coaches love to do the turnover shot play, right? It's like that huge momentum swing.
Yep.
We got the turnover. We're going to step on your throat. And they just hand the ball off. And then I have to listen post-game to Layden Robinson like, yeah, they were really playing the run. They were like overplaying the run.
No kidding.
They were not going to let us. Yeah, because everybody knows you're going to run, pass. You do it all the time. So
they had been sacking May on obvious passing downs the whole game. If they hadn't been sacking, they're getting to him. You know, I mean, that had been going on. They knew when to do it.
How do you avoid obvious passing downs? I don't know. Pass on first down.
Yeah.
Don't wait till 3rd and long before you pass and put your offensive line and your young quarterback in a bad situation. So that was complimentary football in the wrong way. Like the offense didn't do what it should do or could do, and then the defense, unfortunately, did what it's been doing, and that's failed to get the stop it needs.
Agreed. And listen, they ran the ball well in the game.
Absolutely.
The Patriots ran the ball well.
Yep.
So in a vacuum, you look at that and you think, well, running the ball there is not terrible because you've been picking up 6 yards a game or whatever it is. You also have to keep in mind a lot of that was from Drake May and his big long run, which added to that average. But also, look at the spot that you're in. There's 7 minutes left. You're not running the clock out there. That's when you score again. That's when you try and put the game out of reach. That's not when you try to start running, bleeding the clock.
It was terrible.
With 7 minutes. Oh, that was so awful. And listen, for the Indianapolis Colts to go for 2 there, I watched that, and I was like, I almost started crying. I was just like, oh, my God.
It was the drugs.
Look at this. I mean, it probably was. But I was like, look at this. Look at this team rubbing it right in your face. This is an opportunity that you had multiple times to try and do, and you passed on it, and you played conservative, and now here's a team that needs it. I mean, the Colts needed it just to stay in the playoff picture, which they're barely in. They're 6-7. But they're still alive, you know, and they were alive because they went for 2 there and said, forget overtime. We're going for it right now. We're going to beat this team. We're going to put them on the defensive, and they did it. And Richardson bullied his way into the end zone.